Delves, Tier 11s, Hero Track items, Shiny Guildies, Mythic Transmogs. People want them. How do you get them? I'll tell you. I heard a lot of people are struggling in Delves. That's an understatement, actually. I hear it a lot, you see. As in, complaining. Endlessly. Even more so than what I'm used to from this godforsaken community. Because I'm getting a little tired of arguing with people over this, I thought I'd just show you. Not just to shut people up, but also to genuinely offer some help. In these videos, I will successfully do tier 11 delves on characters with an item level average of 620. That is about 40 item levels below what is recommended for these type of delves. And as I do, I will tell you how to do it. And I assure you that you can do it too. All you need to do is try. I chose the number 620 because it's a nice starting point and is easily reached with world content. I will make a video for all classes, but the honor of going first falls to the Shaman. Before we get started, some ground rules. The first of which is I'm not going to do this for all specs. I can already say that I'm not going to play any healer specs for this, and I will mostly avoid melee DPS specs, but sometimes I will do it anyway. And with that I don't mean to say that these specs are just generally bad for delves. I'm just saying that these specs are bad for delving with a gear disadvantage, which is what we are doing. Ground rule 2. Brann. If you are playing a DPS spec, you use healer brann. If you are playing a tank spec, you use DPS brann. If you are playing a healer, you use tank brann. This is how it worked in Season 1, and it's how it works now. There are no exceptions to this rule. If I hear one more DPS player complain about tank brann, I will burst an artery. I am so done. It's like trying to eat soup with a fork. Like, what are you doing? You can tell it's not working. You can tell that's not what it's intended for. So just don't do it. Healer brann if you're a DPS. Always. Always. Also, with brann, I pretty much by default use the pacifist rig because it's so ridiculously overpowered. For shamans, you need to be aware that when your pacifist rig spawns, it will remove your elemental. So sometimes that can't be avoided, but if you see that big green circle, just don't summon an elemental. Or you could just choose not to use the pacifist rig if you really want your elemental, but personally I feel like the risk is worth it. First, I will point out some of the major strengths a shaman has for this. After that, I will show you footage of my run and explain some of my decision making. Both good and bad decisions, that is, because there's plenty of both. And as embarrassing as my mistakes can be, a lot can be learned from them. So, shamans are master kiters. They have a vast array of spells and abilities to create distance and disrupt enemies. Naturally, I highly recommend you to go as elemental. I have done this as enhancement, and I will show footage of that as well, but I wouldn't say it was a cozy experience. Just go elemental, guys. As a shaman, your best friend is Earth Grab Totem. It's an instant AoE root and slow at range, with ridiculously low cooldown. I was able to pretty much use it at the start of every pool. Earth Grab Totem also completely overshadows Frost Shock, by the way. I would not take Frost Shock unless it's already part of your rotation, in which case it's handy to have. Your second best friend is Earth Elemental. This guy has a 5-minute cooldown, and he's basically your personal tank for a full minute. He can take a lot of pressure off you. You should try to have him up for the last boss. He can also bail you out if you feel you overpooled, or you're about to make a very big pool. Do note that you can't have multiple elementals up at a time, so make sure you don't summon your storm elemental or fire elemental when this guy is up, or he will just despawn. Works the other way around too. And again, pacifist rig will also remove your elemental, so keep that in mind. Disrupting enemy casts is extremely useful, and pretty much all mobs in a delve except for the last boss are susceptible to this. Shamans have Capacitator Totem, Hex, Lightning Lasso and Thunderstorm, on top of the passive chance for Earthquake to knock enemies down. Make good use of these. And to help you with kiting, I would not remove the knockback from Thunderstorm. The extra distance is really valuable. And also don't forget Spirit Walker's Grace when you need it. Shamans can dispel curses as well as purge enemies. Both of these effects are pretty common in delves, so you should always run these. And remember, curses are purple, and if a buff can be purged from an enemy, it will glow. For survival, I like to have Earth Shield and take a few talents that improve Healing Surge. You won't need it often if you kite well, but you want it to be there when you need it. Healing Stream Totem is good too, but you probably won't need both. I'm assuming everyone already uses Astral Shift, as it is your first go-to defensive. As always, defensives are for when you can't avoid damage or you're about to tank some hits. If that's not enough, you can take the Stonewall Totem as well, but I personally have not needed it. Bloodlust, of course, always for the last boss. Usually delves for me last between 7 to 13 minutes, so usually you can do a Bloodlust at the start as well and have it up again at the end. Totemic Recall deserves a shout out too. Letting you pop a second totem of choice, depending on whatever the hell it is you need at the time, is really good. I personally used it for extra DPS with my Magma Totem, or to correct myself if I missed my root or stun. It's good to have. As for my damage spec in Elemental, I just made a build I knew I would be comfortable with based on how I played Shaman in Season 1. I have no doubt that this is not the optimal damage build anymore, but it's optimal to me, that's for sure. I rather have a spec that does 2% less DPS if it allows me to focus and play better. You should also play what is comfortable to you. Unless it's Enhancement, of course. Speaking of Enhancement, if you really insist on playing Enhancement, keep in mind that you cannot kite, for you are melee, and you are not meant to be tanking damage. The best you can do is use your Maelstrom to get a lot of instant healing surges. At least that's what I did when I played Enhancement. I will show footage of my Enhancement run as well, but I wouldn't recommend it still. Maybe if you're somewhat higher geared, you can do it more comfortably. Alright, well, let's get to the footage. I lowered my Shaman's item level to 621, and the first delve I did was Kriegval's Rest. It was the new story from this patch, which basically turns this into a goblin delve. The thing you just have to do is keep your distance and keep nuking. I noticed the rig was coming and I got greedy and I pulled more to get some easy kills in with the rig. Note that when the pacifist rig spawns, it actually crashes into the ground, disrupting enemies. The first time you jump while you're in the rig also does this. So if you play your cards right, you can disrupt enemies twice. And this is where we notice our item level with these damage sponges. Thankfully, delve mobs, especially elites and the big ones, cast a lot, which is free damage for us. And here we go again, pulling them together and then throwing the root totem. And when you have them all in one place, you just throw down earthquakes and create this zone of death, basically. And you have plenty tools to adjust if they do come for you. Here's another good example of how overpowered the pacifist rig is. And there's the jump, and there you go. The Underpin's biggest fan only has 2 abilities, both of which you can easily dodge, but the gift boxes can be annoying at times. If you want to interrupt them, you have to do it before the cast finishes. The channel can't be stopped. And I'm kind of rotating through my disables here just to lock this guy down. And yes, I completely forgot about Hex. Here is the Underpin's well-connected friend. This mob only has 1 spell, to summon another really annoying mob. And I pretty much locked him down for a long time, but I did let a few of them get through. Like 1 or 2, fine, I guess. But you do not want to have like 4 or 5 of these guys, or that's very lethal. Like, these summoned mobs are such damage sponges. It really is a punishment to let these casts go off. I kind of chose to use Earth Elemental for this, and I do regret it, but it is what it is. For Shaman, I would still try to avoid the Underpin's explosive allies. There's no direct thing we can do about it. Maybe Capacitor Totem, well, I don't know. If you can avoid them, you should. Alright, boss time. Normally the boss here is Tomb Raider Drywhisker, but in this story the boss is replaced with these 2 goblins. It's usually okay to tank 1 mob, even if it is a boss, or half a boss in this case. As long as you have Brann healing you, you should be fine. And this boss's mechanics are a joke. It's just 1 regular interrupt and the rest is just dodge stuff. And it goes without mention that if there's multiple units, you want them together for cleaving. There we go, that's 1 down. Next up was Nightfall Sanctum. When a delve has these things going on where it lets you jump across the map, or like portals or grappling hooks, it's best to just start at the end of a delve and then just work your way back from there. And when you complete the objective, you can just walk to the boss room. And remember, defensive when you're gonna take damage. By the way, in this run I'm gonna be bailed out by the rig a lot. I'm pretty sure that the pacifist rig shows up for every single pool in this run. Sometimes that happens, you know, it's really random. But you shouldn't count on it, because just as easy you'll just go an entire delve without it showing up at all. The only thing you can be sure of that once per delve run, the pacifist rig will jump in to save your life. It does that only once. Okay, this was gonna be a big pool and I was all mentally prepared. Getting all my totems in place. Getting my huge primordial wave out in all the haste and ready to blast. And there you go, pacifist rig. The Underpin's bodyguard's interns, the Bonebreaker, can be outrange. You just have to step out of melee range. I don't have to because, yeah, the rig shows up again. Then I quickly move across so that those ads in the back won't pull as well. And I know they're gonna come here, yep. The Blessing of Dusk that the big knight looking dudes use in this delve can be purged off, but also just interrupted. Generally, casted spells like Shadow Bolts being spammed deal a lot of more damage than melee hits, but there's more time in between, so you can just time your heals and stuff like that. Yeah, and also the pacifist rig can DC you. I don't know if that's an add-on, but it's very rare, and I just roll with it. I kind of popped Bloodlust on the speaker character because I forgot that this is not the true boss. And what I said about casts, for some bosses that is relevant too. There are bosses who just spam some kind of shadow bolt or whatever, and you're not meant to interrupt those, you're meant to just deal with those. You should save your interrupt for the more lethal spells. Or be like me and get bailed out by the by the pacifist rig again. Another handy thing about bosses that cast a lot is that You can use their cast times to create distance. Next up was Side Street Sluice. And this is just a great delve. Everyone loves Side Street Sluice. And again, I saw the rig coming and I was getting greedy. And with one rig you can just completely delete Underpin's well-connected friend, which would otherwise be an extremely annoying mob to deal with. I'm very careful with the pulls on this platform. Like, you cannot trust this platform. And the reason I'm being careful here, pulling this hobgoblin down here, is because I do not trust that platform up there. That platform you need to be careful with. It's buggy, and that's an old bug in WoW. It's possible that if there's combat on that platform, mobs on a floor above or below will just aggro as if they were walking on the same platform as you. You should always try to pull mobs off the platform back, maybe even back into the room if you want to be entirely sure. Anyway, he's a huge damage sponge. I decided to just tank most of him and disrupt where I can. I think I wasn't entirely sure yet about how Bonebreaker worked, but yeah, now we know you can just outrange it. Because it was such a damage punch, I cast Bloodlust, and now the thing I described about the platforms, the bug, is gonna happen. You're gonna see mobs just teleport in out of nowhere. That's because those mobs were on a platform below me, or above me, I'm not even sure. But I notice it and I immediately run back to the starting room. You should be prepared for this to happen. You should kind of expect it even. Like, I'm lucky I already had Bloodlust and I'm gonna pop Earth Elemental as well now. Like, I know I'm describing it as if it's like part of the mechanics of this place, but if you die to this, don't feel bad. It's completely Blizzard's fault. It's just preventable, that's all. Here I saw the rig coming and I got a little greedy, so I overpulled. And it would have still been fine, but then I noticed that a mob aggro that was not part of this, and the floor thing happened again, so I kind of just instinctively ran back to the starting room again. Okay, there the emergency pacifist rig came out. Just use whatever the hell you can to survive. Here I even used line of sight to avoid the casts. And what do we see now? Of course, it's another mob aggroing from another floor. So yes, what do? We run back. And we just wait here, and there it is. So anytime mobs aggro from another floor, just run back to that room. And yes, I know that the pacifist rig makes that floor aggro thing much worse, but it's just so overpowered, it's worth it. I decided to make good use of my Earth Elemental and pull multiple packs, including the Adoring Fan, and just, you know, I don't even have to kite or anything, I can just chill back and watch my Earth Elemental just keep the mobs in one place and just nuke. About the Gold Elemental boss, this guy is a total joke. But what isn't a joke is the group of gold shamans that you have to fight beforehand. I pulled them all at once and that was not a good idea. I survived, but I would not recommend it. Just pick them off as comfortably as you can. These guys are a bigger threat than the boss themselves, even though all they do is melee. Just aggro as many as you are comfortable kiting. Also, Gust of Wind is a really good spell in delving, because there's so much potential for platforming in delves here, and Side Street Sluice is the absolute best when it comes to that. You can just jump from platform to platform or across the pipes at the top even, and you can even run across the wall. Just be creative. And that goes for all delves. I also did a sinkhole run as Enhancement. This wasn't originally my intention, I just decided to check if it was even possible. Now here's a peek at regular combat as a melee DPS when you are outgeared in a delve. Just notice my health just going down and up, and oh, don't mind me aggroing a shark, by the way, don't mind that. Oh, and also don't mind the underpin showing up now of all times. This is the worst. And this is also by far, like, I'm gonna survive, but this is by far the most stressful thing ever. I get bailed out by the emergency pacifist rig, thank God. I managed to clean the rest except for the shark and the underpin. I also find out that you cannot kick the bombs underwater. Yeah, you can't kick the bombs at all. I just have to move away from them. I have to do half of Brann's healing here to survive, and as a ranged, that's just not necessary. Like, I have to say, I am not that great at Enhancement. In fact, I had not played it in like a year. So my build is really simple for this. I know there's a lot of people who can do it better than me, but still, it's not like I'm playing badly. A lot of Maelstrom is spent on just healing myself. Oh, for people who are shamans who are also engineers, do note that once you use Gust of Wind, you can't use Parachute. I found out the hard way. Yeah, I want to kill Brann right now. The boss here was Cragpie, and Cragpie has 3 abilities. One of them is just dodge stuff. Another is poison he uses on you, and another is a magic effect he does on himself, which can be purged. Since shamans can't remove poisons, reliably that is, and we can purge, we just interrupt the poison and we purge the other effect. Easy, and then we just dodge the 3rd ability. There are always ways to deal with stuff. Sometimes you're gonna have to eat a debuff here and there, but generally, when it comes to delve bosses, the mechanics are usually manageable. If you were a paladin, well, you couldn't remove the swiftness buff, but you could dispel the poison, you know? That kind of logic you have to think of. Every class has stuff to deal with these mechanics. You just have to think of it. And even if it's like, oh, but I'm a warrior, I can't remove poisons, well, you can spell reflect and you can interrupt, and actually you can remove poison just at a cooldown. And even if you can't, warriors have really good defensives to deal with that poison damage, you know? There's always stuff you can do. You just have to think of it and plan for it. Speaking of the sinkhole, by the way, as a shaman in this delve, you can actually use water walking and just walk on top of the delve. I personally like to use this to just walk up to above where the rest stone is and then just drop down from there. There's no falling damage, by the way. When you do decide to fall, you have to make sure you stand still, or you'll fall at an angle and go straight off the edge. And that is how you delve hard on a shaman with the item level of 621. If there's something you'd like to add, or if there's any questions, feel free to leave a comment. And if you feel that delving is still too hard, or that something about tank brann, please feel free to not leave a comment and keep it to yourself. I also hope I didn't sound too antagonizing in certain places, but in the end, all I want to do is step in and help where I can, and I really hope that I've been helpful. But feel free to agree or disagree in the comments, you know. I'm not yet sure which class I will cover next, but I have already shot the footage for most of them. Just depends on who I feel like talking about the most.